Exodus chapter 26, verses 1 to 37. I am reading from the New Revised Standard Version. Verse 1, moreover, you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains, with fine twisted linen and blue, purple, and crimson yarns. You shall make them with cherubim skillfully worked into them. Verse 2, the length of each curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. All the curtains shall be of the same size. Verse 3, 5 curtains shall be joined to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be joined to one another. Verse 4, you shall make loops of blue on the edge of the outermost curtain in the first set, and likewise you shall make loops on the edge of the outermost curtain in the second set. Verse 5, you shall make 50 loops on the one curtain, and you shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is in the second set. The loops shall be opposite one another. Verse 6, you shall make 50 clasps of gold and join the curtain to one another with the clasps, so that the tabernacle may be one whole. Verse 7, you shall also make curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. You shall make 11 curtains. Verse 8, the length of each curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. 11 curtains shall be of the same size. Verse 9, you shall join 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains you shall double over at the front of the tent. You shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in the second set. Verse 11, you shall make 50 clasps of bronze, and put the clasps into the loops, and join the tent together, so that it may be one whole. Verse 12, the part that remains of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, shall hang over the back of the tabernacle. Verse 13, the cubit on the one side and the cubit on the other side of what remains in the length of the curtains of the tent shall hang over the side of the tabernacle on this side and that side to cover it. Verse 14, you shall make for the tent a covering of tanned ram's skins, and on outer covering of fine leather. Verse 15, you shall make upright frames of acacia wood for the tabernacle. Verse 16, 10 cubits shall be the length of a frame, and a cubit and a half that the width of each frame. Verse 17, there shall be 2 pigs in each frame to fit the frames together. You shall make this for all the frames of the tabernacle. Verse 18, you shall make the frames for the tabernacle 20 frames for the other side. Verse 19, and you shall make 40 bases of silver under the 20 frames, 2 bases under the first frame for its 2 pigs, and 2 bases under the next frame for its 2 pigs. Verse 20, and for the second side of the tabernacle on the north side, 20 frames. Verse 21, and under 40 bases of silver, 2 bases under the first frames, and 2 bases under the next frames. Verse 22, and for the rear of the tabernacle westward, you shall make 6 frames. Verse 23, you shall make 2 frames for the corners of the tabernacle in the rear. Verse 24, they shall be separate beneath, but joined at the top. At the first ring, it shall be the same with both of them. They shall form the 2 corners. Verse 25, and so there shall be 8 frames, with their bases of silver, 16 bases, 2 bases under the first frame, and 2 bases under the next frame. Verse 26, you shall make bars of acacia wood for 5 for the frames of the one side of the tabernacle. Verse 27, and 5 bar for the frames of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames of the side of the tabernacle at the rear westward. Verse 28, the middle bar halfway up the frame shall pass through from end to end. Verse 29, you shall overlay the frames with gold, and shall make the rings of gold to hold the bars, and you shall overlay the bars with gold. Verse 30, then you shall erect the tabernacle according to the plan for it that you were sworn on the mountain. Verse 31, you shall make a curtain of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and of fine twisted linen. It shall be made with cherubim skillfully worked into it. Verse 32, you shall hang it on 4 pillars of acacia overlaid with gold, which have hooks of gold, and rest on 4 bases of silver. Verse 33, you shall hang the curtain under the clasp, and bring the ark of the covenant in there within the curtain, and the curtain shall separate for you the holy place from the most holy. Verse 34, you shall put the mercy seat on the ark of the covenant in the most holy place. Verse 35, you shall set the table outside the curtain, and the lampstand on the south side of the tabernacle opposite the table, and you shall put the table on the north side. Verse 36, you shall make a screen for the entrance of the tent of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and of fine twisted linen embroidered with needlework. Verse 37, you shall make for the screen 5 pillars of acacia and overlay them gold, their hooks shall be of gold, and you shall cast 5 bases of bronze for them. Exodus chapter 26, verses 1 to 37. I am reading from the New Revised Standard Version, the Green Bible.